Hi, Cassie.
Hi, Claire. How are you?
Good. It's so good to talk with you. We haven't talked in a while.
I know. I'm excited to be here. I get 50 minutes with you. This is great.
Okay, so I'm going to read your, official bio just so that folks know what you're up to and what you've been up to, and then we'll kind of dig down more into it.
All right, great.
So Cassie Boorn is the founder and CEO of Modern Thrive, an online education platform for creative professionals. She spent 5 years building digital marketing programs for some of the largest brands in the world and helping influencers develop their online platforms. Cassie has always been passionate about connecting people with opportunities that help them make amazing things happen. She left her full-time position at Disney Interactive to launch Modern Thrive, a platform that would empower people everywhere to build a career they love. Cassie has a deep understanding of how large brands and influential bloggers leverage content and social media to build communities around their work. Cassie has been writing online since 2009. Her work has been featured in a wide array of national media outlets, including NPR, All Things Considered, Forbes, and the New York Times. So welcome, Cassie. So tell us a little bit more kind of about your story. What brought you to sort of being here in this room and, running your own thing with these like kids under your feet. And yeah, tell us kind of the
Yeah,
story.
definitely. So I started I would say I started trying to figure out what I was going to do with my career, probably my sophomore year of college. And so I was like 20, 22. I had I'm trying to think. I had like a 3-year-old son, and I was like, okay, I'm going to graduate in a couple of years. It was 2009, so the economy was like trashed, and like I'm going to graduate in a couple of years with a philosophy degree in Illinois, and I have to build a career with that. And so I started working online and looking for career opportunities that would let me do really interesting work and connect me with interesting people, but that I could do from home because I knew that I didn't want to move us. I didn't want to kind of uproot us. And so from there, I ended up connecting with a large community of bloggers and online influencers and people who were building these great businesses online. And I worked with them through college, and that led me to getting a job with a PR agency that was based in New York and working on online marketing programs with influencers. And so that whole evolution of figuring out what I wanted to do with my life and where I wanted to work and what kinds of things I wanted to do was so interesting to me. And so I launched Modern Thrive last April, so it's a year old now. And my goal is to help people figure out what they want to do with their lives and show them kind of the path to getting there. And so we do workshops with different creative professionals who've done really interesting things with their lives and kind of talk about how they got there and what they learned. And, that's, kind of giving people a way to figure out what path they want to take.
So I want to talk to you about this idea of kind of success and how people helped get you there. So, I think when you kind of look back at your story and you look back at, working full time at Disney and then going off on your own and becoming an entrepreneur with Modern Thrive today and starting this business and, getting angel investing even to start it, are there key people that you kind of look back at when you look backwards and say, yes, those people were essential to me getting where I am?
Absolutely. So I have always been a bit like everyone should have lots and lots of mentors. So I've always had a lot of mentors who span different industries. So like what would typically happen is at any point in my life, I've always been someone that just wants to reach out to people and like meet new people, especially people that I think are interesting. So in college, I would look at like who are the people in my local area who are like doing interesting things, or who's running the local women's professional group. And like, when I was working in the blogging world, I was looking at who are the bloggers that like writing really resonates with me and like people I really want, admire. And then I would reach out to them and try and like, foster a relationship or offer some kind of help where, I knew that being mentored by them would be a benefit to me. And so if I could offer them some sort of something that would be useful to them, then it would be kind of beneficial. So a lot of people Allie Worthington was a blogger. She was the first one who hired me. So I was an 18-year-old or a 20-year-old girl. I had a toddler and I was emailing her and asking to be an intern. And it's like anyone could have said no. Like I might have said no to somebody who did that out of the blue, but Allie was like, yes, we're hiring you. Like we'll do an interview. You'll get commission on any ads you sell for the site, all of this stuff. And so I was just like, okay, I'm going to do it. And I just worked really hard for her because I wanted to learn as much as I could about that business. And I didn't realize what I was doing then. Like, I was just kind of like, this is really interesting. I want to learn as much as I can about this thing. But it's like, I was building my network, and it was through a lot of, the events that I would go to and the blogging conferences, which is where I met you, that people would introduce me to other people who are doing interesting things. And I started to build this network of people in all different industries doing all different kinds of things. And so then when I had a question, or I was at a place in my career where I wasn't sure, or I needed advice, like I could ask 10 different people who had 10 different perspectives, and then kind of come back and kind of figure things out. And I think that was, that was so important to just me making the decisions that I have, is having that input. And then the other, so Stephanie Smirnoff was the CEO of DeVries PR, and now she's at, I think, Edelman. I'm hoping I'm getting that right. But anyways, I DM'd, direct messaged her on Twitter and asked to be her intern, and she runs a PR agency in New York. Like, no CEO of a PR agency in New York is managing an intern. Like, not one that they found on Twitter who lives in Illinois and is like randomly messaging them. But I was just like, whatever, I'm going to put it out there. And then I met her a few months later at Blog Her. And I was with all of these bloggers, and she saw us kind of networking, and I introduced myself, and we're talking, and I was like, oh, I messaged you on Twitter. And she was like, that was you? And so then she hired me as a part-time intern because I knew so many bloggers. I knew the space. I was, kind of interested in things. But looking back, it's like, not a lot of people in her position would have given me that shot. And like, and then maybe.
But I was going to say that not a lot of people in your position would have reached out to her on Twitter. So maybe she kind of saw that as being gutsy and ballsy in some sort of impressive way, right?
Yes. So I definitely think like me reaching out and always kind of putting myself in there, and also like me being the only 20-year-old at a blogging conference, like, you just stand out, and people always have questions and they want to know things. And I think that she saw that like there was some ambition there, and that like I was into, and a lot of people, another mentor of mine, Jenny Hamilton, she's a lawyer at John Deere in like the corporate legal world. And we met on an airplane, and she was like, I saw you sitting there, and I don't usually talk to people on airplanes, but I was like, something's going on with this girl. Because like, I was just always just in a place where like, I wouldn't, people my age wouldn't be, or, I was kind of out of place. And I think that people are uncomfortable putting themselves out there, but that you have to do that. You have to reach out to people. You have to, put yourself out there, and also like sharing your story. So I never like hid that I was a teenage mom, and I never hid that I lived in the Midwest and that it was a tiny town, and I think most people, when those are things that like, I'm not like, you are self-conscious about it. There are things people are going to assume about you because of those things. And so people don't want to put that out there, but sharing the story gives people something to connect to, where it's like, they understand where you're coming from and the perspective. And I read this thing the other day about personal branding, and they said whenever you're coming up with your story for like your personal brand, you always have to make yourself the hero, which I never thought about this, but they said you have to start with, you're in this really lowly place, and then like you're building up to this great thing, and then when you get to that, they want to help you get to whatever the next thing is, because you've shown that you had this huge challenge and you overcame it. And so I think that like that was subconscious, that I was like very open about that stuff. But I think when you're sharing your story, thinking about, what are the challenges that I've overcome? What are the things that were really difficult for me? And finding a way to share those, because those are the things people connect with. It's not like, oh, she's really amazing at this thing, I want to hire her. It's that like, I'm comfortable talking to this person and I trust them, and like, I feel a connection with them. And so I think putting yourself out there will get you the type of work and clients who like fit with who you are.
I mean, I think putting yourself out there is so important. When I was working at Twitter, I would always say that some of the best use cases, or, people finding that Twitter was useful for them, was basically using Twitter to reach out to influencers and build powerful relationships that way. And the biggest reason that people didn't do that is just because they were scared and they assumed it wouldn't work. So it's so interesting to hear your stories of you kind of reaching out to these people in super ballsy ways and, I mean, proving that it does actually work sometimes.
Yeah, and even like the whole way I've built my business is so I know nothing about art. Like people cannot believe that I'm working with artists because they're like, Cass, like it's embarrassing what I don't know.
Yeah.
And my friends do know art, so it's like really embarrassing. But anyways, but I knew business, and I knew that if I learned about different parts of the business, I'd learn more. So I found first influencers in the illustration space. So I've never worked in the art space. I've never worked in illustration. I've never done any of this. But I saw that they had a really like strong community online where they were all interacting. Like people wanted more community. It was very needed. So I launched an illustration workshop. It was really, really successful. But the way that I got that instructor is like I emailed the largest, illustration influencer, and I asked her to teach a class on a platform that I launched a month ago. And she said, yes, like she was excited to do it. And then once I had her, then other influencers were willing to say yes because she had done it and so had done it. And so then I could start to kind of build up my portfolio from there. But when you're, thinking about people to work with, like, don't be afraid just to ask because people, like, they don't get pitched as much as you think. Like, they don't get pitched good opportunities as much as you think.
Sure.
They get a lot of spam, they get a lot of trash, but, like, a nice note from somebody who's, like, interested in your work and wants to give you, an opportunity, like, people are always going to respond to that.
That's amazing. So do you find, I mean, it seems like you kind of have an abnormally high threshold for, being able to get out there and sort of ask big, bold questions of people. What would you say to someone who isn't like you and who really kind of needs more encouragement to remember that, hey, people don't get asked these questions all the time?
Yeah. So I do it in like big ways where too, like when I'm looking for instructors for courses, I'm emailing like 20 people and like 10 of them are never going to respond. 5 of them are going to tell me no. Like what I even had people like one time I decided I was going to do a course about people who design fonts, like how they did the business. And I emailed someone and they're like, I can't believe you would do a font business course. Look at the fonts on your website. Like just so mad. And
dagger to
like,
the heart. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like you have to kind of learn to let that roll off your back, which is harder for people. So what I would say is to start small and start with the people you think will say yes first. So like, figure out whatever your goal is. Like if you want to work with bloggers, look for the bloggers that are maybe mid-size or smaller but have a good community and are great writers and write them a really personal email and see what you get back. And so I find that once people do that, it gets easier and easier. Like if you send out 3 emails, then like you kind of want to send out 5 and then, you kind of want to do more because you see it's not like people typically aren't mean. Like they just don't respond if they aren't interested. And so it's less scary once you kind of get into the practice. But I think it's just, making that a practice and trying to take baby steps, even if it's just, I'm going to pitch 3 people a week for an idea. Like, that's a good step.
So talk to me a little bit more about this idea of sort of how your youth has kind of helped in terms of you finding sort of mentors and guides and people to help you along the way. Because I think a lot of times people think of youth in the business world as a negative and as something to kind of hide or certainly not talk about. But it sounds like you've been able to sort of figure out a way to be really young and really out of place, but make it work for you, right?
Yeah. So I never had the chance. I couldn't ever hide how young I was because like my voice is very high. Like I look very young, like I'm only going to get so far dressing a little bit older. And so it's kind of like I had to embrace it. But what I learned kind of looking back is that most people who are like in the middle of their career or in senior management, they want to mentor someone. Like they know that they've learned tons, that they have great advice to give, that they could really help someone, but they want to mentor someone good. So they want to mentor someone that they know can do something really great or can use their experience in a really great way. And it's hard to find those people. And they want to mentor them in a way that isn't time intensive. So they don't want to feel like I have to call a week or, I have to answer every time they email. And so it's really hard for those people in senior management to find people to mentor, which is like people don't think about that. So if you're a young professional and you seek them out and you say, hey, I'm really interested in this thing and I know you have a ton of experience. Can I just ask you some questions? Like, they will love you. Like,
Hmm.
they would love, everyone loves to sit around and talk about their story and their
Hmm.
experience. Somebody who
Hmm.
admires them, like, so people will say yes to that. And so I think, when you're younger, be willing to say, there's a lot of stuff I don't know, but here's what I'm interested in learning. And then people will like connect you to the people who can help you learn those things. So
Hmm.
I think don't act like you know all the answers and like, you just graduated college, so you can handle this meeting. Like, just ask all of the questions and like you look way smarter.
Hmm. And so, what about now that you're kind of in this position where you're certainly serving as kind of this, you're bringing in experts to share their stories through courses at Modern Thrive. So you're kind of this connector, but in many ways, you're also just sort of a mentor on your own right now in terms of just kind of being an entrepreneur and having built a successful business. What do you do when people come to you and ask questions these days? How do you approach kind of mentoring essentially?
Yes, so I actually have like a little hack that I do for this. So
Oh,
because people email me from through Modern Thrive all the time. So whenever someone emails me and asks for advice, I give them like a call to like an assignment. I call it an assignment. So
wow.
they'll be like, I'm really interested in building an illustration business, but I can't figure out how to build my portfolio. And I'll be like, go through all of your artwork and pick 10 pieces and 10 of your best pieces and send them to me. And then if they send them to me, then I can help them on the next step. And if they don't, then I did not waste my time like giving them
Wow.
advice. So that's something where it's like
Huh.
sometimes people just need a like, yes, you're good enough. Here's what you need to do. And then like they can choose to do it or not, but you're not investing tons and tons of time into each kind of individual person.
That is such a smart idea. And so these days, are you then engaging in relationships that are more than kind of one-off exchanges also? Like, are you being sort of a more, connected mentor to certain people in your life?
Yeah, so I try to hire all the people that I want to mentor. Like, I try to
Oh,
have
okay.
them work with me. So I have all of the people that work with me right now are freelancers, but I have a couple of girls from our local college who are like doing really cool artsy stuff. And I was like, and they were gonna go back to like they live in the suburbs of Chicago, and they were gonna go back and work at an agency. And I was like, no, like what if you just stay this summer and work with me, and like I'll coach you on your business. And so they were totally into it because I think that people want that opportunity to build their own business. And like, it was kind of like, I'll pay you for some work and I'll help you,
Yeah.
mentoring. And so then it becomes beneficial for both of us. So those types of relationships, I think, work really well. And even if like you're in corporate America, but somebody from outside wants you to mentor them, like you could have them help you on a side project or a side business. And just like that interaction of them seeing how you work and how you think is going to be more powerful than you like coaching them on what they should do.
Totally. It sounds like you also just get a lot of internal value out of being a mentor to other people.
Yeah, I mean, I learned so much just from
Hmm.
hearing about other people's business. And the thing is, when people are talking about their business, it's so easy to it's so easy to hear another person's business problems and know the answer
Oh.
because it's like so clear. It's like dating, when you see someone's relationship and you're like, they should not be together. You just know. And like, it's the same with business. But when it's your business, it's really hard to see. So sometimes people just need like very like direct feedback. Like this isn't working because your prices are too high and no one pays that.
Hmm.
Like, or this isn't working because, this sucks about it. Like it looks
Hmm.
cheap, whatever it is. Like sometimes that kind of feedback I think really, resonates.
That's fantastic. This has been super valuable, Cassie. Can you share with folks where people can find you and learn more about what you're working on right now and make sure that we know really fully what it is you're really focused on right now also?
Yes, awesome. So yes, so they can go to modernthrive.com and we have a newsletter so they can sign up and get career advice, but we also have free coaching. So you can basically submit any career problem you have and it comes to me and then I email you back with like something, a call to action probably that you'll have to do. And then we have tons of workshops on there. So I think if anyone's feeling stuck on figuring out what it is they should do or what their next step is, like just ask, like, I'm one mentor that you don't even have to pitch. Like you could just send the email. It's totally non-scary. So I think that would be the one thing is, if they have questions about their career or finding their path, I'm happy to talk.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here, Cassie. This was awesome.
No problem. This was fun. Thanks, Claire.